Let's talk more about it with South Carolina Republican Congressman Russell Fry. He's a member of the House Judiciary and Energy Committees. So we are 4 weeks into this Iran war, Congressman. How do you assess the progress?
Well, I think you have to look at Iran's military capabilities as really the key objective of 9,000 to 10,000 strikes on Iranian assets, 140 ships at the bottom of the ocean. Really, in every which way militarily, they are very limited, which I think is a welcome sign not only to the United States and to Israel, but to the regional partners as well. If you remember, I mean, Iran has been funding Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis for years. They have targeted commercial vessels. They have taken over commercial vessels. And so I think in every which way, the success is pretty evident that this was very quick and really has really tied the hands of the Iranian military capabilities.
There are a lot of people who say you're not going to be able to really win this war with Iran. You're not really going to be able to topple the government unless you put boots on the ground. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't think the goal is regime change or a forever war. I think the president's been pretty clear on that since the very beginning. But Iran
he did say regime change, right? He wants regime change.
Well, I mean, certainly you want a new direction for Iran that the people ultimately choose. But this isn't about propping up, somebody. This is about limiting their military capabilities as a hostile threat in the Middle East. They've been this threat for decades, quite frankly, and everybody within the region knows it. The Saudis certainly know it. People who border Iran know it. They've thrown around their weight from a military perspective and intimidated people, funded terror activities for years. And so limiting that, I think, is the primary objective so that the Middle East can have a sustained peace and hopefully that the people of Iran take those matters into their own hands.
I was aboard the Lincoln aircraft carrier when President George W. Bush 43, landed there, and the mission accomplished banner was hung. This was a few months after the invasion of Iraq began. Our involvement there, official involvement, lasted another almost 9 years, and we still have troops in country there. Some of the president's supporters, like Louisiana Senator John Kennedy, say it's time to call it mission accomplished in Tehran. Listen.
I think we've accomplished our objectives in Iran. We've destroyed not all, but most of their missiles, most of their drones, their drone manufacturing facilities, their missile manufacturing facilities. We destroyed their Navy. We destroyed their Air Force. As far as I'm concerned, it's time to get out.
He says as far as he's concerned, it's time to get out. Your thoughts?
I think the president, we have one commander-in-chief. There's 78 million people elected him to be the commander of our military. Certainly he has access to intelligence that we all don't, and I trust his judgment. I mean, this is a president of peace. He's brokered multiple peace deals. He wants peace, and ultimately he's going to make that judgment call when success is reached from a military perspective and when we can go home. But as the president has indicated, that seems to be coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. And certainly not anticipating that we would be there for years to come.
Let's talk about the airport situation. I find it ironic that ICE agents are helping out the TSA right now because ICE is actually funded and TSA is not. Democrats like Eric Swalwell say they would like to defund ICE as well. Listen.
What I see is that we're not giving ICE or CBP a penny, and Senate Democrats have said that if ICE is going to make reforms, take off the mask, put out identification, mark the vehicles that you're in, go to a judge before you bang down someone's door and terrorize their family. If you're going to make those reforms, then they would come to the table. ICE is unwilling to do that, and so I have been in the camp, I can't speak for the Senate Democrats, that I don't want to fund ICE. I want to abolish them. I want them out of our communities.
Again, your reaction to his call to abolish ICE?
I think it's just absolutely ludicrous that a governor candidate in California would even say such a thing. ICE, even as operating with TSA, saved the life of a young child yesterday. They have tremendous success. They've done what the country wants them to do, which is to enforce our laws on the border to remove people who are not lawfully in this country, carrying out orders going back multiple decades. ICE has a long and proud history supporting this country and doing key law enforcement things. This is a key core function of our government. This is something that we absolutely should fund. There's a lot of things in Washington that you could cut and get rid of because it's not something that the founding fathers ever intended that we would support. But Border Patrol and maintaining operational control of the border and removing people who don't belong here, I think is a core function of our government. And so it's a little bit alarming to see a leading Democrat candidate in the governor's race in California articulate such a crazy message. But that seems to be on par with where most of the Democrat Party is these days.
Final question: with Congress going on break, there's not going to be any change in this TSA situation for at least 2 weeks, right?
Well, thankfully, the president yesterday came forward and said that he was going to pay TSA agents, shift around some funding to make sure that they were paid. They've had tremendous, they've showed up to work under tremendous stress, not getting paid, and here we go, he's going to take care of them. And I think that's really part and parcel to why we are very critical of the Senate, is that this happened yesterday. They voted last night in the dead of night to basically surrender the operation of Homeland Security. That's not something that we're going to ever support.
Congressman Russell Fry, we appreciate you coming on today. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.